Okay. So talking about instituting rites of passage or replacing customs. Another challenge for the church is that it must become a community of faith which meets needs that will no longer be met for the convert by his original community. That's the underlined sentence in your notes. And so, if there are needs that will not be met now by his original community because he's becoming separate from them, and he can't participate now in some of the things he used to be involved in, the church needs to become that alternative community. And the early church had this. You know, if we think about, in the early days, what it meant for a person to become a Christian, it was a tremendous change of lifestyle. See, American religion tends to be quite compartmentalized. People look to religion for spiritual needs or for friendship to be enjoyed during leisure time. We would assume that if a person becomes a Christian, he might continue to work at the same job, might have the same business associates, continue to get along with most of his relatives, and participate in the same community activities that he was in before. Right? Person becomes a Christian. Doesn't mean he has to quit working at Ford and go work at McDonald's. It doesn't mean that he can't go to his mother-in-law's house anymore and march in the town parade. You know, he's still going to do all that stuff, right? But in some cultures, he may not. He may get kicked out of all that stuff. Okay? His mother-in-law may not let him set foot in the house because he's not willing at the door to throw a pinch of incense in front of the idol that she's got sitting there now. Which means he's not loyal to the God of the house there. And religion was wrapped up in everything. And so when they separate from those religious practices, it may eliminate many of their family relationships. It may eliminate their business associations. There were markets where at the gate, before you entered the market, there was an idol set up. And you were expected to make some little sacrifice or give some little gift or at least stop and say some words or whatever, honoring that idol before you went in to participate in that business in the market. Okay? So you get saved and you say, I can't do this anymore. And they don't understand. Because if you say, well, I serve God, I serve the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, they say, well, that's fine. Go ahead, serve whatever God you want, but honor our God too. And the Christian says, well, no, I can't. My God says that I can only worship Him. And to most pagans, that was totally unreasonable. Did you know atheists or Christians were called atheists in the first generation? Because they only believed in one God. And believing in one is like, that's next to not believing in any. I mean, if you believe in one, you're almost an atheist, you know, compared to people who believe in hundreds or thousands. And so they didn't understand the idea of an exclusive God, a God who claimed your total loyalty, to where now you can't engage in the family's worship of their household idols, and you can't give incense to the market idol, and you can't do all these things. And so it could cut them off from a lot of those things. And so where do you sell your extra potatoes now? You can't go to the market and sell them. Who do you work for? Your boss has fired you. Where do you go for Christmas? You can't go home to grandma's house anymore. Okay? The church became everything for them. It became their family, and it became their community. It became a community of faith to where they sell their potatoes to a Christian brother in the church. And they go to somebody in the church for Christmas, and the church became everything. And we have to have a concept of that, of the church being a community of faith, a real community of faith that's not just limited to spiritual things. See, and the bad thing is most of us are not prepared for that, because most of us have never been in a church that did that, right? Most of us, we come from a church where Christianity is mostly Sunday worship, and then through the week it consists of just some things that you don't do. Okay? But if you have a financial need, you don't call up the pastor. You go put in a job application somewhere. Whatever the pastor is there if you want to ask a question about tongues or eternal security or something like that, you know. But you know what I found as a pastor in the inner city? People didn't come to me asking me questions about tongues and eternal security. They came to me with questions about not having food, not having jobs, not having places to live. And the church has to learn how to be a community of faith, a family, where that need is serious to you, just like it would be if it was your brother or your sister. And you learn to ask the hard questions just like you would if it were your brother. Your brother comes to you and says, man, I need $300 because I can't make my car payment. Well, you're going to ask him some questions, right? You're going to say, well, you know what? I know you made money last week, so where'd that go? You know, if he was your brother, you'd ask him that. And so you learn to form this family, this community of faith, and that's what the church is supposed to be. And the problem is many evangelical churches in the U.S. don't have that, and so when we go to the mission field, we don't know how to put it there. We don't know how to start it there. We think that we're there to provide spiritual services only and give spiritual counseling. And when somebody comes to us with these kind of questions, our usual answer is, oh man, brother, I'm sorry to hear that you're going through that. You don't have any food for your family. I'll pray for you. We give them the answer there in the book of James. I'll pray for you. Be warmed and filled. Man, I sure hope everything works out for you. Let us know, you know, what happens, but you may never see them again because you may find some other way to meet that need. So that's the disadvantage that many of us have, is trying to plant a community of faith when we do not come from one. But it's something we've got to learn how to do.